Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I'm Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, before I disappear off the face of the earth, how are you today, sir?
Oh, that just made me laugh, so I'm good now. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit.
That old gem.
It's a good one. So, Adam, it's a beautiful week in our Reds country. We've got the Reds, who are they 4-1? 4-1 right now. They lost on opening day. It's freezing cold. Castillo gets to come back and show his stuff here. But the Reds are in first place. We just had a national champion crowned in college basketball. The Final Four was had 2 out of 3 really good games between the Final Four and the championship game. Actually, I take that back. Maybe there was only really one good game. Anyway, sounds like a good day to do a podcast. Plus, we've got cheesy snacks to talk about. We've got Joel McHale to talk about. So I'm pretty excited about today, buddy.
Me too. I am too. I think we can get right into it.
Let's
And
do it.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but we want to start with, because we love the people that listen to this podcast and support us. So we did, for the NCAA tournament, now that it is complete, we have the winners of the Nosebleeds Sports Podcast t-shirts, which were the top 5, right? The top 5 that were not you and I, correct?
That's correct. Yep. There was thousands and thousands of people that entered this. So congratulations to the top 5. Do you have the list?
I do have the list, and let me correct you and me. You and me, it should have been. Sorry about that. I said you and I. It should have been you and me.
Whatever.
Okay. The top 5. So first up is Jason Myers, the only other guy who picked Baylor to win.
Before we go through this, can I just say, first off, I was in first place in this all the way until the last game.
Yeah.
Adam Schmidt, congratulations on winning the second ever Nosebleed Sports Podcast Bracket Challenge.
Thank you very much. It feels good to see your name at the top. You were talking about that last week. So it's cool that we both got to experience that through this thing. Mm-hmm. But this is about our listeners. And so Jason Myers ended up in second place, technically first place for the shirt. Tony Edwards, our guy Tony Edwards, our cousin,
finally gets a shirt. Good for you, Tony. We're happy for you.
Eric Stidham.
Got my little man hooked up over there. He wears a I'm gonna say he probably wears like a XL, extra short, extra large. Be my guess.
Extra short, extra large. Okay. And then you had, and then you were there, and then Dylan Myers,
younger son of aforementioned Jason Myers. Congratulations.
All righty. And then last but certainly not least, our good friend Joe Leonard.
Big fan of the show. Appreciate you guys. Can't wait to get these shirts out to everybody. It was a good little run out of the thousands of people. I feel like we knew every one of them.
Absolutely. Yep. That was yeah. So yeah, very impressive, like you said, out of thousands who joined the pool. Those were the guys that came up and get the shirts. So we will get those right out to you. ETA about this time, 2023.
No, the shirts are coming out. The shirts will be here. I'm promising the shirts. I'm promising the shirts this year.
Okay, so congratulations to those people, and congratulations to the Baylor Bears. All right, we talked most of the year really about, it seemed to be 2 teams that were head and shoulders above everybody else, and it was Gonzaga and it was Baylor. And you hardly ever get to see the two teams that look like the 2 best teams all year long entering the tournament. end up in the finals against each other. You hardly ever see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got to see it this year, which was very exciting because it just feels like you got to see the team, the best team won, like you always kind of want, right? You might be a fan of a team and they might be a 5 or 6 seed or something, and you want them to upset everybody and have an incredible run and win the championship, and that's great. But if usually they're not really the best team in the big picture. The tournament is part of it. Why it's so fun is because a team like UCLA, it was pretty good throughout the season, had some bumps in the road, and then were bad at the end of the year and barely deserved to make the tournament at all. Went all the way and played and probably deserved to play in the national championship game. I mean, they gave Gonzaga the best game that they saw all year long until the championship game. So that UCLA Gonzaga game was, people right away started calling it one of the best college basketball games ever, or the best tournament games ever. And
It was right there. It was right there with it. And the thing that stinks about it is that shot that the kid from Gonzaga made will go down in infamy with many, many other shots that team from buzzer beaters in the NCAA tournament. But if you don't go on and win the big one, then that shot disappears. It all but disappears. People will remember it for a while, and it'll be remembered as a great game. But that shot is nothing in the long run because Gonzaga got whooped by this Baylor Bears team. This Baylor team, the point guard, he looked like Kyrie Irving out there, shaking and baking and moving around with his stutter step, going back and then going to the basket. The defense, you could tell that Gonzaga team had never played against a team with that kind of length, with that kind of athleticism. They were as athletic as Gonzaga. They were stronger than Gonzaga. I believe it was Kenny Kenny Smith at the end said something like, "So we found out that Baylor's got a weight room on campus," but they move so fast. They were always in front of Gonzaga on defense. Jason Williams today said, there were guys who they don't get stuck in screens. You can't screen them. They get through every single screen because they're tougher than you, and they wanted it more. And they came out guns a-blazing, could not miss a shot. I mean, they played as good a game as you could ever play, and they played it on the biggest stage. So congratulations.
Yeah, that really was the story, the way they played defense, the tenacity that they played with on the defensive end and rebounded the ball. They out-rebounded Gonzaga by like 18 or something like that, and that's really impressive. And yeah, it looked like toughness. And there is a line. There's a line between toughness and playing really hard and getting away with playing that way. In that game, you're probably not going to get a lot of reaching fouls and things like that. And I think the first part of the game, Baylor they just worked so hard to stay in front of people. It's what you want to see your team do all the time. And they just played so hard on the defensive end. They were really impressive. And then as the game went on and they, maybe got a little bit more tired and stuff, they were still playing that hard, but there was a lot of pressuring the ball. And with that comes reaching and stuff. And they called some fouls and everything. I'm not saying that it was like poorly officiated, but I felt like they did get away with a lot of hand slaps and grabbing arms and stuff like that, because they were playing that way until they were those fouls were called and they couldn't anymore. And it never really got to that. Now they still did. They're still, I'm not trying to take anything away from their defense. They still were
No,
that was the
because
best defensive.
if the fouls were being called more, they probably would have slacked off, and still don't think they would have lost that game because they played so
No,
well on offense at the same time.
totally
So
agree.
no, I mean like you said, in a national championship game like that, the whistles are going to be swallowed a little bit more than normal, and you have to know that walking out on the court. So that means be a little bit more aggressive, right? Like get out there and be aggressive, and that's what they did. And I mean, take nothing away from them. I
Yeah.
mean, whether there was a couple fouls that didn't get called or not, they were the better team.
And that's where the weight room thing comes in. That's, you can play that way and be real physical. If you are allowed to play a physical game, that's where, all the time in the weight room, and their whole team looks like that. Their whole team looks like they spend a lot of time in the weight room, and
Mhm.
they all look real strong. They don't have any frail guys or anything like that. They don't have any Adam Schmitz or anything like that on that team. It's all, everybody, even their scorers, their offensive minded guys, if they even have any of those, are also really tough defenders and big, strong guys. Um, and it was also cool to see some local flavor on that team. Maceo Teague from Walnut Hills High School here in Cincinnati. He starts and plays big minutes for them, and it was cool to see somebody from here get a national championship.
Mhm.
So anyway, congratulations to Baylor. And you also mentioned that they shot like 60% from the 3-point line in that first half. They couldn't miss. It
No.
was unbelievable. So I mean, they just put together one of the best halves of basketball I've seen in a very long time in the first half, and then really maintained it. I mean, Gonzaga
Any
right before the half started getting some momentum back, and they got it down. They got down by as much as I think it was 19 or something like that, and then got it down to like 9. I want to say that might have been about as close as they got though, because they had some momentum going the first part of there were a couple possessions early in the second half where something happened. There was I'm sure it was just miscommunication or something on the defensive end for Baylor where guys drove the lane for Gonzaga and ended up getting a wide open layup where there was nobody near the rim. And that didn't happen at all in the first half. And then it tightened up after that again. But
right.
they got it back down because Gonzaga is too good a team to get blown out. But I mean, they really kind of ended up getting blown out a little bit. So
It was. I mean, they even when they made a run, Baylor answered and never let it get out of hand, right?
yeah,
Never let it get out of hand.
yep,
So yeah, I mean, I say I just can't say anything except for great job for Baylor. What he's done in the last, 10 years, 15 years, however long he's been there since the murder and everything else that went down out there. Um, you know, uh, Coach Drew's done an amazing job, and they've been really close a few times, and here they are.
yeah. I think it was 03 when he took over. So this is like 18 years that he's been there. It's
Wow.
it's a long time. You don't see coaches stick around like that anymore at one
Nope.
place usually. Speaking of that, really quick, we weren't planning on this, but Roy Williams, legendary college basketball coach, retired, and North Carolina hired Hubert Davis yesterday, which I
Old
thought was
Indy coach,
awesome.
right? Wasn't he the coach of Indiana back in the day? Didn't he
That was
coach the
Mike
Hoosiers?
Davis. That was
Oh,
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis.
But
Oh,
Hubert Davis played at North Carolina, lifelong North Carolina guy, has been an assistant coach under Roy Williams for a little while. And so he's taken over. I thought that was really cool to see a
that
North
is cool.
Carolina guy
Yep. And
taking the nose.
hope all well for him. Hope the guy's a great recruiter because there's been a lot of great recruiters there for a few years, except for that Doherty kid who was there for a little while. Other than him, that's been a tradition at that school, and hopefully he can continue that on. I'd love to see him sit in that seat for another 15 to 20 years.
I agree. And I think he will be a good recruiter because he has the experience coaching, and he also has that reputation. He played a long time in the NBA and was a pretty good NBA player. Um, so he has that. I mean, you can go into almost any kid's house and say, here's my resume.
I know what it takes.
Yeah, and then bring in. He'll probably keep the same staff that he had, and then plug in a guy or two or whatever as people leave. But he has so many connections from coaching and playing in college and pro. He can bring in guys that are going to be really important to recruiting there. So I expect North Carolina to maintain and probably be better than the last couple of years because they struggled a little bit, although they did make the tournament. So I expect Hubert Davis to do a good job there. My last thing I wanted to ask you regarding the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
I would like to get your opinion. What does one shining moment mean to you?
Man, one shining moment used to be when I was younger, right? It was the biggest thing in the world to me. Like I would sit there, I stayed up and waited for it every night so I could watch it. And I would look for that, that little clip that Xavier would be in, right? Because it was only just one clip. And you get to the very end, and I get teared up. I used to get teared up all the time. It's still really cool, just the song, and to see the heartbreak and the highs and the lows of the entire tournament. It's really cool. I say I didn't watch the one the other night because the game didn't start till 9:23, and I was exhausted. And by the time the blowout happened, once the game finally ended, I was basically asleep already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was like 11:30 when that game got over. So
Yeah,
that's what I was kind of wondering. That I remember seeing it some of the time, sometimes growing up, but probably not really as much until I became an adult, or at least old enough to stay up. Because
sure, like high school or whatnot.
yeah, I mean, the game starts so late. That's part of what I was going to get at. Is I mean, they really plug that thing, like they really promote one shining moment at the end of the tournament, like it's such a big
Mm-hmm.
deal for a lot of people. And at one time I think I was a lot more into it too, but I was just thinking about it the other day, and like I realized that I missed it, didn't even think about it after that
Didn't
game
even
got
think about
over.
it.
And so I watched it earlier today, and I thought, I I mean, it's cool to have a package of highlights from throughout the tournament, but the song kind of sucks, and it's on so late. Like
It
One
is.
Shining
It
Moment
is
is
such a
not that.
1980s song.
It's not that the whole it's not that great to me. Like I do not care about
Mhm.
One Shining Moment anymore at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just
I
wanted
just,
to.
I just, I just don't. I just hate the whole fact that this tournament starts so late. Like my son is 7 years old. He goes to bed on a school night, right? He had to go to school today, so he goes to bed. We try to get him to bed at 8:30, but they're probably usually going to bed falling asleep between 9:30.
Sure.
The game started at 9:30. He's never going to get a chance to watch that until he's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's not. I mean, I don't understand that. You're taking an entire generation of kids out of it. I mean, I know the West Coast kids will be able to see it. Good for them. That's one portion of kids that can see that over the entire country. You put the game at 8 o'clock, at least he can watch some of it, right? I mean, I'm even okay with 8. At least maybe I let him stay up a little extra later that night and he can catch almost all of it. Or if it's a blowout, okay, go to bed. But if it's close, all right, let's see if we can get mom to let you stay up and watch the end of this, right? Maybe he stays up till 10. It's a little later, but it's not 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
It's not 11:30 at night. I mean, I feel like that the big money of college basketball, it sucks for kids. And you wonder why all these kids do nothing but play video games all the time and do stuff like that. Because if they want to see basketball, the only way they can see it is through a video game. Because they can't, my son can't watch LeBron James play at night. It's his favorite basketball player, but he can't watch LeBron play because almost all his games start at 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm sure I've complained enough throughout the years, and I probably will continue to when there are late games on. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I understand that you don't want to start games at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for the West Coast people who are working or something, but that's to me that's better than asking people to stay up until 11:30 midnight. If you're talking about an NBA West Coast game, like you were just talking about, 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes.
Well, it's like I said, I understand 8 o'clock. What about 8 o'clock? That's 5 o'clock on the West Coast. By then, you got people coming home. Things are happening. At least they have an opportunity to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Like my boy's got no opportunity to watch it.
Yeah.
He will be asleep.
Yep. I guess thank God for DVR and all the recording devices and stuff now. But I mean, it's
That's
when you're
not the
talking about
same because
when you're talking about a
that thing
sports
in your
game.
pocket is going to tell you everything that already happened. You know how hard it is for me when I miss a Xavier game, I have to send a text message out to everybody I know, and I have to turn my notifications off and say, hey, don't say anything to me. I want to go home and watch this game. Do you know how often I make it home to watch the game? I'll record probably 5 away games a year. And one of those or 2 of those, I'll actually get to watch without knowing what happened.
Yeah. I know. I think I've done that to you a couple of times, said something like, oh man, too bad about the game or something like that. I'm like, oh wait, shoot, did you see it?
It is what it is, it's not, but I have no problem with that. Then, if I didn't tell you not to tell me, then that's my fault. I don't care about spoilers. It's live TV, man. If you're not watching it,
that's the thing.
Then you're spoiled.
If you miss a sitcom or something like that, it's not as hard to go back and watch. You can do that whenever. But for a game, it's too hard, and it's 2.5, 3 hours or whatever sport it is or whatever, and that's hard to, especially if or even if you don't know, it already happened, and you're like, do I want to sit here for 3 hours and watch this thing, even though it happened yesterday? And
exactly.
All right. Anyway,
I don't know.
Let's jump into the next thing on our list of topics here, and that is the Cincinnati Reds. You mentioned it up front. Off to an incredible start. I mean, a lot of people were kind of doom and gloom after opening day. That was a really bad loss. It was like you said, it was freezing cold. They lost, was it 12-1, 12-2, something like that. And the next day, though, number one, it warmed up. So we know now that this is a warm weather team.
Yes, it is.
And they haven't lost since. So 4th straight win. Their offense looks like the opposite of what it did last year. They are scoring. They scored, I think, 12 yesterday and 14 runs today. And no, it was 5 runs yesterday, 12 the day before, I want to say. Either way, they are hitting the heck out of the ball, and they're pitching well enough to except for that opening day game, they're pitching really well as well. And they look good. They look really good.
You know how good they look. You know how good they look. They look as good as a 400-foot home run by Nick Castellanos. That's how good they look. And it just makes me want to admire every piece of this team.
Admire. Okay. Let's just get into that. All right. We had the first, so in baseball, the first instance of benches leaving the dugout and joining together on the field. And I'm trying to think of a clever way to say this. The bench is cleared. They got into a scuffle the other day with the St. Louis Cardinals, who the Reds have sort of a history with. I mean, it's been a long time since they really had a problem with them. They've more recently had issues with the Pirates. But going back to 2010, most Reds fans, still have that pretty vivid memory of the fight in 2010 from when they got into it. And this time it was a different situation than last time, but this time was, like you mentioned, Nick Castellanos, who's one of the hottest hitters in baseball coming out of the gate for sure. And he's continuing that from spring. He's been, since they got to spring training, basically, he has been hitting the cover off the ball. He's looked incredible. And love to see him bringing that into the start of the regular season. So he hit one on opening day. He hit one. Was it the next day or the?
Oh, it was 2 days later, but it was the next game. I mean, there was a day in between, but yeah, it was the very next game.
It was the next game.
He hit his first one, and then he got hit. He hit his first one in the first game, later in the game, when the Reds were trying to crawl back. And I'm going to tell you right now, one thing you should take from opening day is that even when the Reds are down, they crawled, they tried, they crawled, and they scrounged for every run they could get. And he hit a bomb, and he wanted to get his team going. So he turned around, he throws his bat over there. He starts yelling at his team, trying to get them pumped up. Next game, he gets hit. I'll let you take it back over.
Right. No, he did. So he got, this was the 4th inning. All right. He gets hit in the fourth inning. As a matter of fact, it was the second or third pitch into the at bat or something like that.
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Okay. So let's start there. Do you think he was hit on purpose?
I don't think he was hit on purpose. Could have been hit on purpose because of the way he looked at his home run. I mean, listen, this dude pimps home runs, right? He's a Dietrich all over again.
Mm-hmm.
He's pimping home runs when he hits them. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, there are pitchers that if they don't like it, they're going to throw at you. And he for a moment took offense to it. And he calmed down. We'll say he calmed down. Yadier Molina told him, "Hey, listen, it wasn't on purpose." So he took it as it wasn't on purpose, just like he said in his interview. Yadi said it wasn't on purpose, so I took it that wasn't on purpose. So he picked the ball up, offered it back to the pitcher. I thought that was pretty nice. He said, I believe his exact words were, sometimes pitchers get in a groove and they want to keep that same ball going. So I just figured I'd ask him if he wanted the ball back. Hey, listen, here's what it is. You hit him, right? At that point in time, I don't think he did it. I mean, he probably did it in a way of trying to show him up. Sure.
Okay. That's what I wanted to,
hold on. But he didn't say any words. All he did was offer the baseball. Do you want the ball? That's all he said. So you can take it as showing up. You can take it as not. Just like if he got hit, did he get hit on purpose? Did he not? It's all up for speculation at that point in time. Both sides of that, I believe, are up for speculation. I see it one way. Somebody else may not. But that's not where it all went down. So go ahead and continue on with the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was part of it. That could be all of those things could be in pieces to what we're leading up to here. So he gets on base. Everybody on this team is hitting right now, almost except for Joey Votto. And so
Eugenio Suarez.
Eugenio Suarez. So anyway, Castellanos comes around, and I want to say might have been Moustakas that knocked him in. Or no, I'm sorry. I think Moustakas might have been hitting. There was a wild pitch, and which missed like as badly as the one miss that hit him on the same side of the plate. It missed like 3 feet off the plate. I mean, it was awful. This kid was having trouble. So it got away from Molina.
So wait, are you saying that you believe that sometimes major league pitchers do miss by that much?
Yeah, usually.
Okay. All right. I was just checking.
Okay. Yeah,
I think we've had this argument in the past too. So
thanks for checking.
We can go back. We can go back. I want to go back and double check what you thought last time we had this argument. Okay.
Good.
Go ahead.
Because it's not that hard usually to figure out when a guy is missing that bad because he's having control trouble and when he's not. Anyway, he was having control trouble clearly here.
I like this is a lot like every other person who comes up with stats to prove their point. They don't look at any other stats. They just want the stats that prove their point. But anyway, continue. Yes, go ahead.
I do. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So it gets away from Molina. Molina goes over. Pitcher Jake Woodford. He's only in his second year. This is like the 13th game he's ever appeared in.
Does that have any merit to this story?
Not really.
Because that's the third time I've heard somebody say that.
Well, except for I kind of noticed that when everything happened, he looked up at Castellanos like he was a little bit unsure of what to do. You know what I mean? Like he was almost a little bit, I don't know if it was intimidated, but just like unsure of what to do. Like he hadn't been in that situation before. And I'm sure he hasn't been because it was only the 14th game he's ever pitched in. But
that's not the 14th game that guy's ever pitched in. He's pitched in hundreds
in Major League Baseball
of very, very highly competitive games. I just want that to be known. It's not like this dude is some rando coming off the street. Everybody keeps saying just because he's so young, he really doesn't even know what's going on. Yeah, he does. He's been pitching for a very long time and knows all that.
Well, he's 24, not a very long time, but anyway.
Long enough.
Okay, so just forget about that part. So anyway, pitcher covers. they meet basically at the same time. Castellanos slides head first, gets his hand in, great slide. Molina kind of shuffles the ball over to Woodford as he's covering. Now Woodford, that's where I wondered if there was any sort of rule that I haven't heard anybody talk about yet, so probably not. But there are rules now about catchers blocking the plate.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if what happened there could possibly be looked at for something like that. So he slid.
No, he was diving to make the tag. Catcher blocking a plate is blocking the plate before he has the ball. So that's before he has the ball. He was sliding in there as the ball was coming in. So no,
so it's specifically about blocking the plate before the ball gets. Okay, I gotcha.
Yes.
So anyway, he slides across the plate the same time Castellanos does, and pretty recklessly, but I guess he's trying to make a play. But with his knees first, which is better than spikes first, so certainly. But at the same time, his knees like collide with Castellanos's body, and kind of ends up like kind of into him and on top of him a little bit for a second, and then he rolls off.
And then Castellanos jumps up, flexes over top of him. One of the greatest pictures you'll ever see in your life. After being hit, more than likely he felt like on purpose. Jumps up, flexes in the boy's face, is so excited at the fact that they just rallied up and got another run, and then goes into his dugout. And well, he doesn't go to his dugout because then the whole bench is clear and everybody goes ape crazy. Nobody went in the dugout. They all came out of the dugout. So let's hear what you think about it, bud.
So we both know how we stand on this without even talking about it in the first place. And we always,
let's do this. I want to do this. I don't even want to talk about this. I want to talk about something different.
Okay.
All right. Because this is an argument. This isn't even an argument because, I mean, yeah, Castellanos probably should have gotten, something should have happened. I'm not saying a 3-game suspension. No, absolutely not. If that's the case, then anytime, whatever, 2-game, either way, any game suspension should never happen for what he did. He didn't cause harm to anybody. He didn't do anything that deserved a suspension. You want to fine the guy, whatever, fine him. If that's what Major League Baseball wants to do. But starting in 2018, Major League Baseball came out with a let the kids play campaign for their postseason. And if you've ever seen the commercials, it's nothing but people hitting bombs, throwing the bats around, getting excited, jumping around. But at the very end of the very first commercial, they show Ken Griffey Jr., who's an old man now at that point in time. And he just turns around and he says, let the kids play. 2019 postseason. They got Mike Trout, George Springer, and all Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge and Ronald Acuna Jr. And they're all they start off with normal interview speech, right? Where they're just answering questions very properly. And then all of a sudden they start running their mouths. So, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. We're going to be this. We're the best. We're this. And then they come back, and at the very end, it comes up again. They look at Mike Trout and they say, what do you think about it all? And he said, let the kids play. So Major League Baseball is pumping this out. Okay? Pumping it out. Let the kids play. Let the kids play.
That was from 3 years ago, right? 2 or 3 years ago.
2018, 2019. 2020 doesn't really count because that was a crazy year. So outside of whatever, that's still a thing, right? Okay, so you want to say that they're done with that? You think that Major League Baseball is done with that campaign? You think they're done?
Well, they feeling don't do that way? Specific campaign, but they kicked that off because people started saying that. I don't even think that was something they invented. I think people.
No, I don't think they did either. Yeah. That's not the point. The point is, and then you're going to fine him when you do. So now you have a guy who's showing emotion, who's getting excited, who's doing things to that little kids are seeing and getting kids to be excited about. What do? MLB put that on their Twitter account. The next day, Castellanos hits a home run, throws his bat towards the dugout again, jumping up and down, going crazy. And they put that on their Twitter account. Something good about Nick Castellanos when they just tried to suspend him. This is what annoys me. Figure it out. because you can't suspend these guys for causing a benches clearing incident when you're wanting them to do that kind of thing. You can't promote them doing these things and then turn around and suspend them for doing it. My personal take.
I don't disagree with that part of it. I was surprised that he got, now first of all, he got ejected from the game. What do you think about that decision?
I don't care if he got ejected. I mean, what he did to the guy was showing him up. It was total showboat. And the emotions got a hold of him, right? Emotions got a hold of him. Yeah. Should he have got ejected? Probably not. Is that a big deal that he did? No, you got to do something in that. When the bench is clear, you got to do something, right? So there you go. So not, you don't have to do something, but a lot of times something's done. So he gets ejected. No problem. You want to fine him? Whatever. Fine him. $16 million guy. He'll be all right. But to suspend him, and then when he disputes the suspension, the next night he does the same thing, hits a home run and showboats it, and you put it on your Twitter account, Major League Baseball's Twitter account, pumping it up. It doesn't make any sense. And Major League Baseball has got to figure this out. And they've got to get with their umpires, and they've got to get with their players, and they've got to get with their marketing team, and they got to figure it out. Because if they keep doing bullcrap like this, it's going to turn. They think they've already lost the generation. They're going to lose the generation after that too.
I agree 100% with you with your point that they need to get a hold of this and figure out what direction they want to go with it.
Yeah.
I definitely know the direction I think they should go. And I know everybody says, first of all, let the kids play is the stupidest thing. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. A campaign for people to say. It's just like one of those things. It's like just such a lazy blanket statement. I think I've said this before on this podcast, but like such a lazy blanket statement to apologize for things that people do. And I think there's a huge difference between what he did when he hit his home run the day after that and what he did at home plate after that play. Now, let me start by saying,
I agree with that too. Yeah,
okay.
That's fine. I agree with that.
And let me say, while I hate,
that is part of the reason why it all went down. If you believe that he got hit because of the way he acted in his home run the game before, and they were waiting for a situation where it wasn't a big deal to hit him, nobody on, 2 outs. That's the situation to hit a guy right there. That's when you want to hit him, and nobody's on, 2 outs. You want to hit a guy, go ahead and hit him. So, they were waiting for the right situation. They got him. That's the way of the law. And if you're the guy who got hit, you're going to be a little irritated. You come around and score, you get a little pumped up, right? If you want to say there's something wrong with that, I understand that. But the reason it all happened is because of what he hit when he hit the home run the day before, which is something you're telling all these players you're okay with them doing. And then he gets hit, comes around, scores, and this happens.
Okay. Well, I don't think most people are thinking that he got hit on purpose because of what happened. People have mentioned.
I feel like that's been the narrative this entire time. I feel like every article I've read before they start talking about it, it all prefaces with the home run and the way he skipped down the line the day before. I feel like every article I've read has been about that.
It mentions it, but I don't think anybody has really. I don't think any of the Reds think that he got hit on purpose because he did that because he skipped down the line the day before.
100% disagree with you.
And okay, so I think what he did to stand over him, stare at him, scream. While I think he should not have done that. I also I understand in that moment with the adrenaline that was going on. I totally understand why he did that. And I think it got away from him. I don't think I hope now he does seem like a guy that is fine with anything that happens because he's doing something. And I don't think his skip the day before down the line. I mean, I would love to see a guy hit a home run 425 feet and run the bases. I would like to see that. But I don't think he did anything wrong in that home run the day before or the day after either. Now everybody's calling throwing your bat toward the dugout a bat flip. So because everybody wants to see them. So, and he did. I mean, this the day after he grabbed it from the other end, from the barrel end, and kind of flipped it. But he's not standing there posing for a long time. He's not flipping the bat like over his head, like, onto the field or anything. He hasn't really done anything that I think is like so outrageous. It's infuriating and everybody should be up in arms. I don't think
you're coming around. You are coming around.
I'm actually
3 years ago, if we had a player on the Reds that did exactly what he did, you would be furious about that. And you're telling me right now you're not that upset about it.
You're probably right about that.
You're coming around, buddy.
Well, with that, only because I'm being conditioned like everybody else to see, like, that just happens all the time, like every single day in baseball that happens. So now it's, now I have some context. Like, I've seen way, 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 way worse than that a million times now. So now it doesn't seem as bad. And his inciting a problem on the field by doing that is absolutely what it did. And if I was the Cardinals, here's the thing. If I'm a Reds, so every Reds fan, the thing that infuriates me second most about the whole thing is the way Reds fans have reacted to this whole thing. So they are pumping up the standing over the guy, flexing and screaming while staring at him. They're pumping that up as that's what we need here. Nick Castellanos is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and that is like this is why I'm pumped up about the Reds. This is everything great about the Reds. That's what I'm hearing. I probably spend too much time on Twitter, but that's where I go for my sports news most of the time.
You're in trouble there.
And people are the worst versions of themselves sometimes on that website. So I've had a really hard time seeing other Reds fans pump that behavior up, because that's different than, like I said, than skipping down the line or kind of like shuffling down the line as you look into your own dugout and get pumped up and yell and stuff. That's totally different. If you're showing a guy up and you're taunting a guy and that kind of thing, like that's, I hate that people that also love my team want that to be the case. They want to see.
Sure. Yeah, I understand. I totally understand that. Yeah, the standing over the guy, flexing. I like to think though that it's not the showing up of the other team. It's the standing up for yourself. That is what the Reds fans are loving, like with the Puig and with the Garrett picture. And it's we're the little lowly Reds, the small market Cincinnati Reds. So, we get walked all over by all these teams, and then all these bigger, badder teams with more money and do this, that, the other, that we're going to stand up for ourselves. And you got to be that. Then that, I believe, is what these people are pumping up more than it's more the Reds over the Cardinals. It's more, just standing up for yourself, I believe.
You're probably right in some cases. It's not the feeling that I get while I'm reading people's posts about that. But I hope you're right. I was excited to talk about this as soon as it happened, because you and I have this debate and we're on opposite ends usually. And that's kind of fun. But today it made me, I just like changed it totally changed my outlook on having this conversation, because it's gotten to the point where and I think sometimes we both, when we're doing this, we both kind of push a little bit further
Sure.
into what we're defending, just for the sake of having fun with it with each other. But it got to me so much today that I got to like this level of disappointment and almost anger that I had to just like, I couldn't go any higher with it. I just dropped off, and I got depressed
Well,
about it.
I apologize. I apologize because
It
we
has
talked
nothing.
earlier today and I said I'm excited about talking about it, but I wasn't excited about talking about it because of that. And I feel like I made you go and do extra research on it.
No,
And if that's the case, I apologize because my whole point has nothing to do with the brawl with Castellanos or anything in general. What I want to talk about in this, and the thing that bugs me the most, is Major League Baseball's decision making in this process. That's where I'm at.
so regarding that, I was surprised. I thought I was totally fine with him getting ejected because he was the reason that whole thing started. Um, the suspension surprised me. I didn't think it really warranted that, except I think, and I didn't hear officially from Major League Baseball that this was the reason. I don't know if they would say it or not, but I know this was the case last year in a few times in games. When that happens with the COVID stuff, I think they're buckling down a lot more on the benches clearing stuff and the big groups in the middle of the field.
No, 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 no. Don't give me that. Don't even. I do not want to hear that that's a big thing about the benches clearing and the COVID stuff. That last year, Turner, the Dodgers won the World Series. They had to take a guy off the field because he tested positive for COVID, and he walked out there with no mask on and celebrated with his team after he tested positive for COVID-19 and got nothing, zero. So I don't want to hear that Major League Baseball's got something where they want to prove how they feel about COVID, because that's bullcrap.
So you don't think there's any you think because of that incident with
No, I'm
Turner,
saying
with that
what
he
I'm
that
telling
he's
you is
that
I don't want that Major League Baseball can't use that as an excuse to find to suspend him,
I
because I don't think they believe in it as much as I don't think they believe in it as much as they want you to believe, or else Justin Turner would have gotten suspended for the first 3 games of this season for coming out on that field after they won the World Series.
okay.
I didn't have an issue with it when it happened. I said it on this podcast. I didn't have an issue with it. I'm just telling you that I don't want, but because of that, Major League Baseball can't come out and be like, well, anytime there's a benches clearing brawl because of COVID, we're going to suspend somebody for 3 games. Okay. Because people were too close because of COVID. You literally knew a guy had COVID and let him go back out on the field.
But they didn't. He was told not to, and he went out anyway. He did that on his own, and there was nothing
Exactly.
they couldn't
All right. So yes, there is something you can do. You can suspend him for
suspend
3 games.
And here's the thing, and maybe they should have, but that doesn't mean that you can forever not use that. They made a mistake by not suspending him. That doesn't give them that doesn't give anybody the freedom to just ignore any protocols forever. That doesn't give anybody an
No,
excuse.
I agree with that. But this is the 4th game of the season. If you've been thinking about this, where we just had the 5th game of the season, this happened on the 2nd game of the season. If that was something in your head, you had plenty of time. You had an entire offseason, an entire spring training to do something to Justin Turner. I just don't feel. I feel like with this COVID stuff, I feel like a lot of times corporations are using it. I'm not saying that they don't believe in it or anything like that. What I'm saying is, I think that if something happens and they're like, oh, I want to suspend him for doing what he did, they'll just throw that in there as just a little something extra. And I think if that's the case, then every time the bench is clear, every one of those people, if that's the case, then they should make it even stronger thing to where if you are on the bench and you leave the bench, then you're suspended And that's it, right? That's it. Zero.
Just like in basketball.
Point blank. Exactly. It's exactly right. If they really felt that strongly about it, that's what they would do. And that's what they should do. And you want to see what would happen, I guarantee those benches wouldn't have cleared.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I agree. But I just don't think I'm not, like I said, I started the whole thing by saying I haven't heard anything from Major League Baseball saying that, but as a reason possibly that he got suspended, that could be an addition. And I think it would be legitimate, but I understand and I agree that they need to say something about that. Then it can't be.
I don't want to hear.
It can't be like the NFL where the same thing gets suspended 200 different ways, right?
Exactly. It's exactly right.
So, but say something, and if that's the case, then that's fine, and I agree with that. And I think we both just said, then do that. Then make sure you do that. So,
and I got no problem with that. Yeah, I think you should. If you want to make it stop, even with or without COVID, you want to stop benches clearing brawls.
That's it. Yeah,
that's how you do it.
Right. Yep. I agree, and that's that's something.
How many times have you seen a malice in the palace since the malice in the palace?
Yeah, thousands. Oh, you mean actually happened to somebody else?
Yeah. How many times has that happened since then?
Nobody's gone into the stands or anything like that. Yeah.
Or even big brawls on the court. You don't see that because if you come off the bench in basketball, you're suspended.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's right. So first of all, your apology a couple minutes ago, I don't accept because you don't owe me one because it had nothing to do with you. I got my my level of frustration and being upset about all of this was sent over the top. So it got worse when I was seeing how Reds fans have reacted and taken this and made it a good thing the way that he reacted. So I really didn't like that. But then what put it over the top today was something that I'm going to bring up right now and play for you. And a guy we've talked about, I want to keep giving him another chance. Every time I hear the guy say something or do something, I want to be like, okay, there's another thing, the 50th thing now that I've seen from this guy that I'm like, he's a good player, pretty good player. He's not Hall of Fame like he thinks he is already, but he
is it Trevor Bauer? Is it Trevor Bauer?
No, it's not. And I saw the stuff that he said too. And Trevor Bauer is a goofball, and
Trevor Bauer is just against Major League Baseball, so he's going to find a way to go against Major League Baseball.
Absolutely. But this guy, I'm having more and more of a problem, especially everything I've seen from him today, everything I've seen from him this offseason and in the last couple weeks, and especially today. And this is Mr. Amir Garrett, and this is what he said. I'm hoping this works.
The energy he's bringing, oh my gosh, it's a domino effect. Everybody's gonna feed into it. I want everybody to think that Cincinnati Reds is like the most cockiest team ever. We're some bat flipping, showboating son of a guns, and I want everybody to know that.
All right, so
you understand where I know you don't like that, and that's fine. You don't have to like that. There's a lot of people that don't like that. But the whole point of what he's saying is the energy, is this team is up. If you have a team that's just walking around, going through the motions, they're going to be a bad team. When you have a team that plays with that kind of enthusiasm on an everyday basis, absolutely, that is a fun team to watch.
Yeah. Yep. And I agree with that. But say it way better. And that's not what he's saying.
How old is Amir Garrett? 24 years old, 25 years old? I mean, come on, man. Sometimes these kids can't say things better.
No, don't call him a kid like he's 12 years old. He's an adult. He's been in this league for 3 years or whatever it's been. He knows what he's talking about. He is this kind of person. I mean, he showed that last year with the Pirates fight, and he wanted to fight. He went into that game wanting to fight no matter what. We know that. He ran over to their dugout and fought their whole dugout by himself until Yasiel Puig, the other guy on the team then that wanted to fight, came over, and everybody else did too. So this guy just keeps talking about, keeps saying things like this. And to say specifically, I want everybody to think the Reds are the cockiest team ever. Chris, I'm having a hard time not cursing on this podcast right now. I'm so enraged. I to say that and to say we're bat flipping and showboating, and then he comes in, his first action yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Gives up a home run, gives up a base hit, and then strikes a guy out and does the rock the baby thing. Okay. Came in and gave up a run, pitched for 1 inning, came in, gave up a run, and then is rocking the baby when he strikes a guy out. Okay.
I'm going to tell you this. I love the energy that he's talking about Castellanos bringing to the team. I think that is as important of a thing for this team as there is. There's a fine line between confident and cocky. And if someone thinks you're cocky, but you're confident, I'm going to put words in his mouth, and I'm going to say that's what he's saying. He doesn't care what they think. He wants them to think that they're cocky because this team's so confident. Okay. I'm going to put words in his mouth because I'm sure it's not what he really meant, but that's what I'm saying. What I hate more than anything in the world is someone who does exactly what you just said. Comes into a game, gives up a run, gives up a hit, strikes a guy out, and then starts acting like he's the greatest thing to ever walk the face of the earth. You should have your head down, walk into the dugout, and be happy you made it out of that inning. You strike out the side, nobody touches the pitch. You do whatever you want as you walk off because you are the most dominant person on that field at that moment in time.
And yell and pump your fist and be really excited and do cartwheels off the field. But do that walking off the field, looking at your team. There's a right way and a wrong way to do all this.
Exactly.
He does it the wrong freaking way.
And Castellanos does it. Castellanos always does it towards his dugout. He does everything. He's looking at his dugout.
Except for the other day.
Except for when he flexed over him. But I'm saying every home run he hits, he's always looking at his dugout, pumping his dugout up. Mm-hmm. That's the energy he's talking about. I'm not saying that Amir's got the right energy going, but I'm saying that Castellanos' energy I'm good with.
For the most part. Yep. For the most part, I agree. But that's the thing is these comments from Amir Garrett and the things that he's doing on the mound and staring guys down and talking to them after he pitches to them. It's that kind of stuff that Reds fans are loving. And that's the kind of garbage that I hate. I think that's the wrong energy. That's the difference between right and wrong. Be a great player and be humble at the same time, have some integrity, be classy. You don't have to, you can have great energy and be super positive and just be like a gem to your team, be like the most enthusiastic guy in the league. And another team never, ever has a problem with it. That's not the case with Amir Garrett. That wasn't the case the other day when Nick Castellanos lost his mind for a second. Do it the right way. Like I said, sometimes adrenaline's going to get the best of you sometimes, but that's going to happen. It's your job also to get a hold of that. All right. You've got to have some level of self-control, even in the most intense times, and it's easier for some people than it is for others. But if it's not easy for you, if you're a young guy and you're brash and cocky, just as a part of your personality, you're going to cause problems for your teammates. Guys are going to get tired of having to come out and defend Amir Garrett all season long. It's going to happen. I'm telling you. And to say those words, to say, great, bring the energy. That's fine. But we want to be known as cocky and showboaters. That is stupid garbage that Reds fans, the ones that I'm seeing on Twitter, unfortunately, and I got to stop worrying about that. But
I totally agree with that part. You gotta stop worrying about that.
But it is a large, like if you go tomorrow to the game, Amir Garrett comes in, he's getting a standing ovation from everybody there. And for the wrong reasons. Reds fans are eating this stuff up for the wrong reasons. And it makes me, we talked about not being able to see Reds games. And I haven't seen one Reds game yet this year, except for opening day, because it was on the
MLB.
Yeah. Or it was on CBS or whatever. But I thought today, I've been bummed for the last 3 days that I haven't been able to watch Reds baseball. Today, after seeing that, I'm like, I don't even know if I care. I don't even know if I care to watch. I don't want to watch him pitch because his antics and his mind is going to be, he's going to make poor decisions on the mound, as far as making bad pitches at some point, or a bad pitch at some point this season, because he's so worried about getting in somebody else's head that he's in his own head about that.
Yep. Here's what's going to happen. Somebody's going to hit a walk-off home run or a walk-off hit, and they're going to cradle the baby against the Reds as they round the bases to Amir Garrett, and he better not say a word. You know what's going to happen? He's going to go try to fight the guy, and that is the stuff that I can't stand. I hate that. If you're going to do it, you better be able to take it. And you also don't do it after you just gave up a home run and a hit.
Yeah. It really got me down today. Like I've felt depressed the rest of the day after I saw that and saw all the reactions from Reds fans for the last couple of days on that stuff. And it just gets me down to think about, sometimes you see stuff, actually all the time we see stuff, even not in sports, that you feel like, man, just society in general is heading downhill. Like the next chapter of people are in trouble. And I think about, because I don't have any kids, and we've talked about this before, and I relate it to kids are watching the Reds. They're watching Amir Garrett, and they're getting excited about Amir Garrett and Nick Castellanos. And it's going to be for the wrong reasons like this. Kids are getting into that. It happens all the time. Kids love the NBA. They're staring people down. They're getting in people's faces. They're doing all these celebrations, staring at guys after they dunk on them or after they make a shot over them or something like that. It's the class in sports is like really heading downhill. I just felt a real surge of that today, and it really got me down. That's why I became less excited about talking about this, because I hate that it's happening, and I hate especially that it's happening with my team, our team.
Yep.
So
I understand where you're coming from, buddy, and I feel for you, and I don't want you to feel that way. So I'd like to talk about something that will make you happy right now. Okay. Here's what we're going to do.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. No, you tell me. What was it?
No, I was just because I started to say it and then I switched gears because I can't collect my thoughts because I'm so worked up. But I was going to say, I started saying, like, kids are seeing this and they're doing those things because they're seeing pro athletes do them. And that's why it's a problem. And that's why it's a big deal that guys need to stop showboating and, drawing attention to themselves when they do something good, because it sends the wrong message. I think you're putting that in kids' heads, and they're taking that into sports and causing problems sometimes. And then it's going to go, you take it into sports, it's going to be part of who you are, and you're going to take it into other things in your life too. So anyway, but that's what I was going to say. Like, I don't have kids, so I think about other people's kids that I know and that I'm close to. So I think about your son loves basketball, loves baseball. I think about him seeing Amir Garrett and doing that kind of stuff and getting really excited about Amir Garrett. And he's my favorite player now. And he's talking about, he wants the Reds to be known as the cockiest team ever. Chris, you know what I do like?
Well said.
Cheesy snacks. I like cheesy snacks from time to time because cheese is a delicious thing. It's a wonderful thing. It lifts my spirits. You know what I mean?
That's what I need. I need you to have lifted spirits right now because I'm depressed right now.
I'm lifting my spirits starting right now just for you.
Tell me how lifted your spirits are. I want to know the top 4, the Mount Rushmore, if you will, of cheesy snacks for Adam Schmidt.
I appreciate you asking. I wrote these down and I kind of laughed at myself because there's a clear theme here. Okay. So you'll see it right away. I think I'd probably have, this is hard because really I'm not much of a savory snack person. I'm a sweet guy.
Oh yeah.
From morning to night, I'm eating sweets. A scary, disgusting thing to most people, I'm going to just share with you right now about me. You see this number?
3.
It's a 3. That's how many Penn Station cookies I ate today. 2 back to back, and then I saved the other one later in the day for dessert.
When I go to Penn
Station cookies.
That's impressive because I've never had 3 because I love Penn Station cookies. I get a Penn Station cookie when I order food. I get a Penn Station cookie and I eat it while I'm sitting there waiting for my Penn Station to come through the little oven thing that they got. I'm waiting for my Philly cheesesteak. I eat the cookie while I'm sitting there waiting.
That's a great idea, a little appetizer. And I would do that if I didn't need the sweet after. Like after I eat something savory, I need the sweet.
Well, apparently you buy 3 at a time.
I
So
buy 3, so I could do both. I could go before and after. You're absolutely right about that. Here's the funniest part about that too. I placed an order on Doordash for those cookies. You know what else I got from Penn Station with those 3 cookies?
I don't know.
Absolutely nothing. That was my full order. My full DoorDash order from Penn Station was 3 cookies. And Chris, if you're a Penn Station cookie lover, you know what I'm talking about here. You get variations. Sometimes you get the maybe never touched an oven at all. It's all dough. And sometimes you get a little bit extra crispy one, usually still pretty soft in the middle, but you get a kind of a crispy one. All 3 of these were pure cookie dough.
Oh, you were in heaven.
Which is my favorite.
I was just going to say you were in heaven.
Made me feel disgusting afterward, but I loved it.
Oh, it was so awesome.
Okay. So anyway, that just gives you a little insight into why I've gained 15 pounds during the quarantine. So going into though, sometimes I'm like, okay, ease up on the sweets. Let's get a little something savory in here because I like that too. I think number 1 overall for me, cheddar and sour cream ruffles. Cheddar and sour cream ruffles.
Yeah.
I also have white cheddar Cheez-Its, not the regular, the white cheddar.
Good. I'm glad you didn't say cheat. And go ahead. Yeah.
Also, Caucasian cheddar smart food popcorn. You know what I'm talking about? The smart food popcorn.
That's on my list.
The white
that's
cheddar.
That's on my Mount Rushmore.
That is
on my Mount Rushmore. Some of the might be one of my top 2 on the top 4. I love me some white cheddar smart food popcorn.
Yes, sir. And then my last one is cheddar cheese, rounding out the 4 cheddar Mount Rushmore here. Cheddar cheese pretzel combos.
Oh,
not the cracker.
Nice.
You don't have not the cheese cracker.
No, it's got to be the pretzel. Got to be the pretzel. Totally understand. We only have one similar.
I had a feeling.
Which is the Smart Food white cheddar popcorn. Anyone that says Cheez-Its or Goldfish can take their cheddar and stick it straight up their nose hair all the way out their right ear, because those are the 2 most disgusting things I've ever put in my mouth. The Flavor Blast, cheese, Goldfish, phenomenal. But just a regular you can't call that cheese. Not like a Cheez-It that there's no cheese on it.
Well, it's all cheese, isn't it?
No.
It's all cheese.
No, it's a cracker. No, it's a cracker. There's no cheese flavor on there. I can't lick that and get cheddar on my tongue. I don't get orange or white fingers from eating a Cheez-It.
Okay.
That doesn't count. That's ridiculous to me. I think Cheez-Its are disgusting. I think they should be taken off this planet. That being said, anytime you put cheese with a pretzel is phenomenal. Therefore, Rogo cheese is number 2 on my list. Number 3 on my list is the classic. You have to have a classic, right? You have to have a George Washington. You have to have a nacho cheese Dorito on the list. And last is something new that I just came across. I'm not much of the cheese curl, right? Or I think they call them cheese curls, like a Chester
cheese
Cheetah, not the cheese puff, but the
Cheetos,
harder, small Cheeto, like a regular Cheeto, right? Like a Cheeto. Not usually a fan of those. My little friends right here, little friends here at Dots. This is their pretzel, okay? But they now make a cheese curl with the cheddar cheese on it and the same seasoning that they use on their pretzels. That, my friend, just made the Mount Rushmore.
Good find. So it's a brand new thing, or it's brand new to you?
Brand, I don't know, brand new to me. So maybe brand new thing. Who knows? I don't know how long Dots has been making it, but it's brand new to the city of Cincinnati. I can tell you that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't ever remember seeing that. You did inspire me because you were eating the rolled gold cheese pretzels last week, and you inspired me. I got some at the store, ate some today. That's delicious.
Nice.
I agree. I almost put the nacho cheese Doritos on there. I think the only reason that didn't make it for me was because I so strongly prefer the Cool Ranch over those. So I hardly ever eat those, the nacho ones or the cheese ones.
Yeah.
Still delicious though. If that's the only chip at a party, I'm happy. So yeah, I and then we share the smart food popcorn.
I feel like that was a pretty easy one. I feel like that went pretty smooth, pretty quick. Which brings us to Mr. Joel McHale, Pyongyang or whatever it's called. So I'm gonna go first on this. Did he ever say those words?
I don't think so.
And they were not in Asia. They were in Sacramento, California.
They're in San Jose, I think, right?
Or San Jose. That's right, San Jose. The Sharks. Oh my gosh, the Blades. How could I forget that? Joe McHale's a little all over the place. I didn't realize his comedy got a little all over the place. This was good. This was really good. I liked the special. I cracked up probably like 3 times where he got me. I love when a comedian gets me, and I go from nothing to hard laughing. That's my favorite. And he got me like 3 times. He was cracking me up with some of that stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to go with a 3.4 on this. The different ways that he called his boat driver Guy Fieri, and all the different knockoffs of Guy Fieri that he came up with cracked me up. I was laughing at all of those. He did a great job, man. I thought it was a good special. He does get a little ahead of himself and gets a little crazy and it seems like he gets ahead of himself. Like he's got some ADHD or something, and he's like he's got to rein himself in. If he slows down a little bit, he'd be super funny still, but I thought it was really good. And I like Joel McHale a lot, right? Like I talk soup and Parks and Rec. How funny was that he said he was in Parks and Rec for 6 years and everybody cheered. And then when he talked about a show he was actually on, nobody cheered at all.
Yeah. Also reminds me of what was he on? He was doing an interview, and he realized at one point that the interviewer thought he was Daniel Tosh.
Daniel Tosh. Oh, that was so good.
Funny.
That was good.
Okay, so I thought this was good too. We're both fans of Joel McHale going into this thing anyway. I thought it was good. I don't think I'd ever seen his stand up before. He like you said, he's an actor too, basically. But he's funny. Anything he's been like, when he's on talk shows and stuff like that, he's funny. He's he's quick witted. He's his improv skills are good. His stand up was a little bit wasn't quite as good, honestly, as I thought it was going to be. And I think part of it was maybe because he was kind of all over the place. It didn't seem like he had, I don't know, just his like joke writing from, we talk about that all the time. Just, I like a classically written joke, and it's kind of, he doesn't really do that, which is fine. Not everybody does, but, it was just a little different and it wasn't quite as fun. I didn't laugh as much as I thought I would. So I still, it doesn't change my opinion about him or anything like that, but I gave him a 2.8.
Wow. Okay.
2.8,
I
a
almost
little low
went
for
3
me.
points. I wrote down 3.2, but I said 3.4
I
because go ahead.
I wrote down 2.9 and changed it to 2.8. Bless you.
So, no, but I started thinking about, I did laugh quite a bit more than I wanted to think that I did. Right. So I bumped him up a little bit more, but yeah, I like Joel McHale a lot. That dude's a funny dude. I thought it was a really good job. So that brings us to next week.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, what is your Mount Rushmore going to be?
We are going to do the Mount Rushmore of vacation destinations.
Whoa.
That means
nice.
this isn't where you would want to go. This is vacations you have been on, places you have been. Even if it's a 1 or 2 day little road trip, or if it's a 2-week long excursion to Europe, whatever it is, places you have been, your top 4 favorite places that you have visited.
I like it. I'm totally good with that. Man, top 4 places. So even if it was just one time, like for a weekend, like when we went to the largest snail in the world museum, like I could count that.
Yeah. Largest snail in the world museum. Yes. And I'm expecting that to be on your, I don't want to speculate too much, but I'm expecting that to be on your list.
All right. That sounds good. All right. So that puts it on me.
Largest snail
Unsportsmanlike comedy with Rob Gronkowski. What?
Largest snail in the world museum.
You never been there?
I'm thinking that it's a fictitious place, but you've said it so well, so quickly that I was like, maybe that is a place.
All right. So I need to figure out what I want to do. I want to do a relatively new one. Have we done Martin Lawrence doing time uncut from last year?
I don't think so. I don't think we did.
All right. So 2020. Oh, wait. Let me make sure this is actually a stand-up special and not something goofy that he did in the past. Yeah. Can't do that because the phone's just gonna give me the spinning wheel of death. So
is it on Netflix?
No, I'm on Prime, Amazon Prime. I just typed in comedy stand-up. Oh no, here we go. This will be good. Here we go. 2020. We're getting close. I feel like we're getting close to the end of the quarantine days, of the COVID days, right? Like we've got vaccines coming out. We've got, all kinds of stuff. You go to Texas and go watch a Rangers game, you'll go there with an entirely full packed stadium if you want to. Steve Trevino on Amazon Prime. My Life in Quarantine.
Steve Trevino, the grandson of my pick to win the Masters, Lee Trevino.
Lee Trevino, that's right, it was. Oh man, we didn't even get to talk about the Masters. Oh, that's all right.
I talk about it.
I still say Justin Thomas. I'm still taking Justin Thomas, not Dustin Thomas, who I originally took last week. Was Dustin Thomas. Dustin Johnson, I believe, is I think Dustin Thomas has the lowest odds or the best odds of winning, and Justin Thomas, I believe, is third on that list. So I just split them and went with Dustin Thomas.
You're going with a hybrid, right?
I'm going with a hybrid of the two. I'm going with a dude that looks like he's 12 in Mr. Thomas, and the heater smoking, cocaine riding Wayne Gretzky's daughter marrying Dustin Johnson on the other side. I don't know who I like more.
Does he do all those things?
Oh my gosh, yeah. After he won, was it the Masters last year or whatever he won, the US Open or something, they got him on the beach just throwing heaters down. He went to rehab for a little while. Oh yeah, old boy likes to party. He's married to Wayne Gretzky's daughter.
Wow.
Oh boy likes to party.
She's a beaut. She is a beaut. I wasn't too familiar with Dustin Johnson. I had heard of him before and everything, but I don't watch much golf. So a guy at work 2 years ago came in and he's like, "Man, you look just like Dustin Johnson." I'm like, "Okay, I thank you," or
Yeah, that's
something
good.
else, you
That's
or
a good
whatever.
one. You need some really tight golf pants.
He's like, yeah, he's like, you know who I'm talking about? I'm like, I'm not sure I know what he looks like. I can't think. So he pulls up a picture and he's like, he says something like, "You don't even need to know what he looks like. You just need to know what his wife looks like." And he pulls up a picture he pulls up a picture of his wife. I'm like, okay. I didn't know it was Wayne
Winner.
Gretzky's daughter though.
Yeah.
All
You
right.
know what? Because Dustin Johnson and Aaron Rodgers do kind of look alike. So I mean, and they both look like you. So yeah, I think you got it in there. You're looking good, bud.
Oh man, I would love to be hosting Jeopardy now.
How great would that
cool.
be? Did you see the guy on Jeopardy? Have you seen that? So it was Final Jeopardy, and you know he asks a question and goes to commercial, and they come back and they wrote their answer down. Everybody writes their answer down, and so it comes back and he's like, "All right, we're back, Final Jeopardy. George, what's your answer?" And he goes, "Who wanted to kick the field goal?" Is what it said. So Aaron Rodgers had to read that, and he started laughing. And I thought that was pretty good. So, and he wagered nothing because obviously he knew he was going to get the question wrong. So, yeah.
I heard about that. I saw like the beginning, like the intro or whatever, the very first part of that show.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any of the other stuff. But I did hear about that. That's funny.
Everybody keeps saying like, "Oh man, he's so good. Oh my gosh, yeah, these guys that are just good at anything they do." Dude, he sounded horrible. Like there's no Alex Trebek. No, get him off of there.
I feel like number one, I feel like nobody's gonna fill Alex Trebek's shoes. And number two, I wouldn't really, not that he's like an idiot or anything, but I wouldn't expect Aaron Rodgers to be like great at that. You know, some guys just
dude, I'm gonna tell you what, there are some people that I know that if you knew them in their everyday life, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, no chance." But they are some Jeopardy nuts and smarter, the most minutia, dumb stuff that they'll ever know. It's crazy. So you'd be surprised on who's who.
Yeah. I watch Jeopardy on Netflix all the time. The only problem is I don't retain any information, so it doesn't matter.
So we had a guy that I used to work with that would watch Jeopardy every day at lunch. And we'd sit in there and he'd just rattle off every answer. And we're like, "Oh my gosh, this is smart." And he was such an idiot. Man, this is the smartest dude we ever met. Holy cow, man, Greg, how'd you do? What? So one night I'm sitting at home and Jeopardy's on. And they're going over all these questions and asking. And I go to lunch the next day. It's the repeat of the night before. He just watched it last night. I called his ass out on that so hard. I was like, "You're not as smart as you pretend like you are. Just because you do a crossword puzzle in pen doesn't mean anything."
And now you can watch them all on Netflix, so he can go home and watch the same one 50 times.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
That's funny.
Oh,
They did that.
Lord.
Reminds me of an episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when they recorded the lotto numbers and tricked Jeffrey into thinking that he won the lottery.
Yes.
And Jeffrey was like, like, screw you, do this for me. You're my butler now. They had to tell him that was a VHS tape.
Play it with you. It was probably a Betamax.
All right.
Oh, Lordy. All right.
But
well,
before we sign off, thank you for cheering me back up. Good work.
Yes. Cheesy snacks will always do it for you, buddy. Hey, watch the Reds. You're still a Reds fan, all right?
I am.
You're still a Reds fan. Be a Reds fan. Watch the Reds. Stay off Twitter. Get out of the comments. It's the worst of the worst. Twitter, whatever you see on Twitter is not what most people think. Just so you know. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, some people talk all the time about how awful Twitter is and just so many terrible people or it's the worst versions, like I said earlier, of people. But I feel like the people that I mostly follow aren't generally like that. I still see plenty of negativity and bad stuff. And I don't read comments that much, only once in a while. But everybody just retweeting the videos and stuff from the last couple of days and getting all excited about things that I think are the wrong things to get excited about are just got me down. But Cheesy Snacks and Joel McHale and you, I'm back.
That's what I like to hear. So next week we're going to do Lee Trevino's son and his special My Quarantine Life or something like that. What was the guy's name? Steve? Was it Steve Trevino?
Yeah.
Steve Trevino. Check that out. We've got the Mount Rushmore of vacation destinations. I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, and the Reds hopefully by that time will be somewhere around 10-1.
Yep, I expect so.
All right. So, all right. Until then, don't forget to turn your headlights on.